Tonight, we've got Sherry Gaba in to talk about how to know if you're addicted to love, why love is addictive like a drug, and how to move on. We're going to play our game Type Hype 2, all tonight on It's Complicated.
You're listening to It's Complicated with your hosts Jennifer Golden and Lauren Leonelli, coming to you live from the AfterBuzz TV studios in Los Angeles, California.
Hello, Master Daters. Welcome back for another episode of It's Complicated.
Struggle is real when you're dating in the city.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Lauren.
And tonight, guys, we're discussing why love truly is addictive, how it scientifically gets you high. It's real, guys.
It's true.
And why it's just as real as any other addiction with Sherry Gaba.
Yes, that's right. Sherry Gaba is a psychotherapist, life coach, and certified recovery coach, specializing in individual, couple, families, and group psychotherapy.
Mm-hmm. Everybody could use a little therapy, guys.
It's psychotherapy, too.
Totes.
All of the therapy.
All of it. And guys, with under 20 years of experience.
Over 20 years.
Sorry, guys.
Over and also maybe under it, too. Who knows?
Experience specializing in addictions, relationships, codependency, trauma, parenting, divorce, and single parenting.
Sheesh.
Yeah, she's currently serving as a private practitioner and is a consultant for several high-profile Malibu rehab centers. So she is an expert in all the things that we talk about.
Yes, and like Malibu is the place where they all go when they need help.
Especially
Have you ever
the
like
celebs.
driven through Malibu? Everything is about like relaxing and spa and recovery, and it's like a thing there. Have you not ever noticed that?
Yeah, no, that's the place to be if you're
like
going to recover.
the
I'm
mecca
sorry.
of
Yeah.
recovery.
If you're going to be homeless, you live in Malibu on the beach, and if you're going to go recover, you go to Malibu.
Yes. Also, Sherry's psychotherapy and life coaching, they go deeper than traditional therapy and coaching. So she has her own little like ins and outs and methods and expertise, which are very interesting and we'll dive into. And also, you may know Sherry as the go-to expert from Dr. Drew Pinsky's Celebrity Rehab Show on VH1. You know that one. And then the spinoff, Sober House, and Celebrity Rehab's Sex Addiction. Even better.
Yeah, so apparently sex, like that's a real thing, being a sex addict.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's just not something cute somebody can say to like
No.
get out of jail free.
No.
It's a real
It's
thing.
a real thing. We're going to kind of talk about like love addiction. It's a
How
kind of
you
similar,
even end
yeah.
up in that situation. And
Right.
she's also the author of the groundbreaking and award-winning book, The Law of Sobriety, Attracting Positive Energy for a Powerful Recovery. And this book that we have right here.
Yay!
The Marriage and Relationship Junkie,
Yes.
Kicking Your Obsession.
Kick that habit, you.
Oh, yeah. And it's got a real cute wedding cake on it and two people that are not together anymore,
and a
guys.
slice down the middle.
Because I ate it.
It's dark.
Yeah.
Or not.
No, it's
But
going to
it
get
probably
you
is
to
a
the
good,
next
yes,
phase
it's
in
gonna
your
get
life.
you to the next phase.
So we're going to talk to her soon. But first,
In
guys,
a fun way, you guys, we're here at AfterBuzz TV, and that network keeps the lights on for us, and you guys keep the lights on for them by watching the shows and sharing and telling a friend. And they at AfterBuzz TV, you know, because you're a fan, produce after shows for all of your favorite TV shows. There's dramas, there's reality TV. They probably even do Celebrity Rehab here. I'm sure they do. And we need your help at AfterBuzz. They need your help. We're asking you that you can please subscribe to one or more of the YouTube channels, since there's a lot to choose from. Besides helping AfterBuzz a ton, this is what's in it for you. It caters specific content that you already like directly to you. It brings you your favorite TV shows and after shows, so you don't have to seek them out. It's so easy, and it suggests content from other channels or podcasts that might interest you. It's just simple.
totally.
Simple and easy to do.
So, guys, subscribe to our YouTube channels here.
Yes.
Okay. And discover new shows that we're sure you're gonna love. Like they cover all the like
Bachelor,
relationship reality TV shows. Like Lauren said, The Bachelor, Bachelorette is on right now.
We did Love at First Flight.
Yep. Now there's The Proposal,
Oh,
where people get proposed after not
guys.
seeing each other in
Like,
30 minutes.
They probably need to read this book.
Yeah. So, guys, don't be shy. Go do it. And if you're wondering about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional and it's easy. So just hit subscribe on that button now for an even easier experience. And let us know that you did that by commenting and saying that the girls from It's Complicated got you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, because we are going to continue to do our best to serve you. That's what we do here. We help uncomplicate your
help
life
you help-
by
Yes.
giving you the tools to get more content in your inbox.
And now we want to help you even more because we've got a special guest here.
Yes, guys, she has the unique ability to uncover intuitive insights from her clients' deepest selves, allowing them to manifest their greatest dreams and desires. Welcome to the show, Sherry Gaba.
Yay!
Hey, so excited to be with you girls. And you are girls.
Yes. Oh, wow. Sherry
We'll
was
take it.
Sherry was telling us we were just so young, and we were like, "Well,
Yes, like my daughter's age.
thank you. We will take it." And speaking of helping us help you, and all of us getting help here, if we want to know if you're addicted to love, because we might be a little bit. There's a quiz too that you can take to know if you're addicted to love on
Sherry's site.
On Sherry's site. But you, when you're in love, your brain reacts with a hormone called oxytocin. And this is how it's sort of similar to other addictions. And it can be love addiction, sex addiction, things of that nature can be just as serious and as real as an actual drug addiction.
It gets you high, guys.
Yes, it gets you
Which
high.
is like cool because it's not a real drug, but then if you are like actually addicted, then you might need help.
Yeah, into an unhealthy situation.
Right.
And it's like taking over addiction can take over your life. So we talk about that too.
Yeah, so why don't you just start by telling us how you ended up in this field in the first place?
So it started out with Celebrity Rehab, doing the show around addiction. I worked at Promises, which was the very well-renowned Celebrity Rehab. And that kind of is where it all started. And then, of course, I had to marry an alcoholic to go with that.
Yes.
So that's one of my, we call them qualifiers out there in the recovery world. And then it kind of just morphed into this because really by the time I was your age, I'd been married already 3 times.
Wow.
How did you fit
So-
that in?
Yeah, I was a busy bee. Well, I am of a different generation, and it really was all about, and the family of origin that I came from. It was all about you are something if you are married. Every time I'd get together with my parents, it's like, well, are you dating?
Yep.
Do you have a new boyfriend? And eventually, it's, are you getting married? And you're married? Are you having children? I mean, it was just, and I don't know if you can relate to
Yes.
that.
Oh,
yeah,
More.
Still
So
the
there
same.
was a pressure, but it's much deeper than that, and that's what people don't understand, is that often love addiction, like most addictions, there can be a genetic predisposition. I come from a lineage of love addicts. My grandmother was married 4 times.
Whoa.
My mother had a wonderful marriage to my dad, although after he passed away, she really did pick up somebody that, and she'll never hear this show, so I can say what I want. She picked up not the best guy, and I
Right.
would call it obsession, love addiction, absolutely. And then, of course, there's me.
Okay.
My daughter seems to be doing a better job.
Good.
Than with the same guy.
Great, but
So-
that's also because you've dove into this field. You have so much knowledge about it, and it's sort of like helping her or breaking the cycle or breaking the patterns.
It's just all about having self-worth and feeling like you deserve the best and not being afraid to be alone, not being afraid to be single. After this last divorce, instead of calling it, oh, I'm alone now, it's more like, oh, I'm single now. Now,
I'm with me now.
Exactly. Like, it's how we frame it. It's how we verbalize it. We have to be careful of the words we use because that is going to bring back what it is that we're feeling. That's going
Sure.
to kind of bring in that feeling tone of, I feel good about my life, or, oh, I'm alone.
Right.
alone.
And putting that feeling on someone else or giving someone else the responsibility or power to make you happy or not happy. It's got to start from
Well,
you.
there's just this pressure.
Yeah.
This pressure and that's really what love addiction is. It's a feeling of unworthiness, low self-esteem, feeling empty if you're not with someone. Just like the heroin addict.
Mm-hmm.
The heroin addict feels really empty before he gets his fix. He has withdrawal symptoms. That's what a love addict has. To me, for a big, large part of my life, it was intolerable. It was terror. It was panic. Oh my God, when am I going to meet somebody else? And after the last divorce, it changed. It did change. Although I did take them back. I have to be honest. I have to be transparent.
Well,
and I tell that story because I'm a therapist and we make mistakes too. And so I sort of had what we call a relapse, right? If somebody drinks again when they're in the program, I had a relapse. I took them back. But luckily that's over now and I'm happy. And I've moved on.
How did it feel different? I'm sure there was more than just 3 relationships. You were married 3 times. So
No, 4.
4. Okay. And now if you're in something else, how does it feel different? What's the difference between your frame of mind when going into meeting somebody than it was the 4 times
How
before?
do you not relapse into an old habit?
You have enough pain, there will be gain. There are just certain things I'm not looking for anymore, I would say. I think there's that list. What do we want? What do we don't want? Making healthier choices. Not feeling obsessed. Not feeling like... I was really enjoying my life the 4 years that I was apart from him. I took up canoeing. I made new friends. I was really happy, enjoying my daughter, later a granddaughter. And I just love my life. I love my life. I don't need somebody else to complete me. I love, having someone in my life, but it's not going to be the answer to all of my happiness. It's just not.
Well, so now this is, I think, an interesting time to bring this up with dating apps. It's like breeding a little bit of like a swiping addict because people can just keep swiping until they think they're going to find the next best thing and the next best. Like, when do they stop swiping?
That's fulfilling some sort of like void or validation that you want through maybe having somebody respond to you or like you back or swipe.
Yeah, when you get
you.
another
They're
match.
created that way just for that reason because what a love addict is doing basically is looking for validation, acknowledgement. And so of course having friends, followers, being chosen, that sort of meets that emptiness of, oh, they want me, they want me.
Being chosen, that's a good way to say it.
Exactly. I have a lot of clients that I see that are actually married that are on these sites, these internet sites, these apps, and they don't have any intention of like meeting the person or having sex with the person. They just want to be acknowledged and validated.
They're married and they're
I thought I heard that wrong, but
are you
Oh, yeah.
Wait, hold on. So are you like get off that app? Like that's a wrong way to
you
seek.
you have a love addiction. You are a love addict.
That's
real.
real.
Obviously, if you're going over and you're having an affair, an emotional affair.
Sure,
if you're doing
totally,
that. And
totally.
So yeah, that's a big issue, a huge issue today with the internet.
Whoa.
I mean, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about, you said it's like being a kid in the candy store. I think of it as it's the more disease, like more. Like who's next? I found it overwhelming. I actually met somebody very special on the app. But if I wouldn't have, I think I probably would have gotten, well, actually I did. I got off the app. I find it very overwhelming, very confusing. And how do you really know someone from like 3 lines, really?
you don't. It's hard.
Well, I think it's all about the hope is to get off the app and to meet in person, and it's just a way to connect you. Whereas maybe before 10 years ago, it might have been at a bar, and before that, it might have been at church, and before that, it was a set up marriage or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
it's just a means.
It's a means to what we all want is to meet this person and have a connection and have chemistry in real life. The problem is that nobody gets off the app, or the percentage of getting off the app and meeting in real life is so much less than just going out to a bar and meeting people face to face. And we think it's because of what we're talking about, the more thing. Like people just are on their and they're getting their validation from matching and getting likes, and their intention may be so subconscious they don't even know that they're not actually there to meet somebody.
Besides the more issue, which is a huge issue, is the problem of ghosting. I'm sure you've talked about ghosting on this show. So because it's internet or app dating, they don't know you. You weren't fixed up. If you disappear off this planet, nobody's going to be embarrassed because they don't know you.
And they don't owe
the
you
friend
anything.
doesn't know you.
They don't feel
It'd be
bad
really
about it.
embarrassing
They
if
can
it was a
vanish.
fix-up. They can vanish, which is so rude.
There's no accountability, no responsibility.
No. I mean, for your generation, don't you think that's completely,
Totally.
for my generation, that is just like appalling, but it happens all the time.
All the time. I actually have a girlfriend and we like date together. Basically, we're like
we all date together. That's how this show was born.
Yes, exactly. And so she's in New York and I'm here, and we talk about the differences and the similarities, and she'll tell me about like all these guys that she goes out with, and some of them will start to pull away, or they won't set another date, and she's like, I feel it coming. They're about to ghost. And then she'll try and figure out if they're going to ghost by asking them for plans to see if they say yes or make an excuse.
It's
or
like
don't
an
respond.
experiment at that point.
Yeah, so it's always like the constant fear that the next one's going to stop.
That will actually bring up that love addiction quality in a way, because maybe not for that person, but just the addiction to love or finding somebody, because we all live by social cues. And what kind of social cue are you getting when it's an app and they're disappearing? It plays to our deepest, you can't really say to someone, oh, don't feel rejected. It's nothing personal. Come on, if it happens enough,
course.
it does feel personal.
But
Especially in dating and relationships. It's like different if it's a job. It's like
Right.
you might not have the skills or whatever
But
it is.
if you're really pathological and you really have issues and you are a love addict or you're dealing with other, other problems, it's going to be, dating apps is a no-no. It's just absolutely
And
no-no.
also that point where you get to, I'm now trying to figure out if I'm being ghosted or not. And you're saying that it brings up like love addiction kind of ideas or qualities. And I could see why, because at
The
that
compulsiveness
point,
of it.
then
Right.
all of a sudden you're like in it because you're trying to not be,
Out
you're
of
trying
it.
to be chosen, or you're trying to like stay in it for validation. Whereas now you're ignoring the fact that this guy's an asshole.
right, and you actually might not like this person.
And you might
just want to win.
You want to
kind of.
exactly, and that's the love addiction unhealthiness that starts happening. That's the birth of it.
That is the
potentially.
birth, and then it just gets worse. I have a client that actually invited somebody to her home that she hardly knew from this app. Yeah,
Don't
and
get murdered, people.
we don't even want to go over how she described him. But
Oh, God. Did he drive a van and have a mustache?
A little
'Cause no.
troll, shall we say? But the point is,
And still invited him over.
he didn't look like a total troll from the picture. So anyway, the point is, when you're making bad decisions like that, you really need to look at what is going on underneath this. Why are you making these decisions?
Like as a pattern, right? Because it's
Exactly.
people sometimes slip up and like are just they make the wrong choice. But if it's a pattern,
Yeah.
then
The
that's
pattern of
when,
drinking heavily.
Right.
It's one thing to have a glass of wine, 2 glasses, but if you're like getting drunk, what's going on? What's underneath all this? What is it that you're covering up? What are you self-medicating?
Totally. And love addiction is just like that. What are you covering up? What are you seeking for in somebody else or some other thing that's controlling your happiness in you, which is not, you got to start from somewhere else. And obviously everyone has their own like insecurities, or sometimes they're happier than others. But when it starts becoming a thing, drinking or boyfriend after boyfriend or girlfriend after girlfriend or sex all the time.
And obsession, just obsession.
Yeah.
It's compulsive and it takes over your life. That's really the definition of addiction, when this thing is taking over your life. You look at Tiger Woods, all of his, we call them affairs. It was sex addiction.
Sure.
Absolutely.
it's hard to understand it as a real addiction when you're just looking at it from the outside and you don't know what that feels like. But like we just look at him like potentially as a celebrity player type, like
Right.
the same people that like the Kardashians marry.
Well, it's like they also have it at their disposal because
Yeah.
they're a famous man or woman or whatever that people want to attach themselves to. So if you also have that predisposition to addiction, it's now you're being totally enabled by people who don't even know you.
Yeah, you have what is called yes people, and they're just, kind of bringing the women to him. So sure,
Totally.
it's much easier, it's much more available. I don't know Tiger Woods personally. Many celebrities, many politicians, musicians, a lot of them are narcissists. That's how they get into that arena. I'm not saying that he is. That's another complication. Are you dating somebody that's a narcissist, someone that's an addict, sex addict?
How do you? Okay,
What are the
so
signs?
Yeah, what are the signs? Or even like you have signs that you see in other people, and then after that, you have a quiz on your website.
Yeah, I think I gave you the link. I don't know
Yes.
if you're going to put that up. But if they
Yeah.
just go to sherrygaba.com, I have a whole bunch of quizzes, and they get an ebook as well.
oh wow.
And
Filling
then
the
you can
empty heart.
answer. I did it. I did the
Oh,
quiz.
how did you do?
I got 2.
Oh, I don't have the whole thing in front of me, but I'm imagining that that's probably on the.
It was like, congratulations, you're fine. Like those are sort
Yeah,
of
it's on the
semi-normal
low side,
things.
right.
Yeah,
So
like
what is the scale?
1
0
to,
to
1 to
you know what?
3. There's like
Good
10,
question.
Yes, there's like 10 or so questions. 1 to 3. Like if you tick the boxes on 1 to 3, it's like it's fine. Like you have these
You're
things. It's like
normal-ish.
not that big of a deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And then more than that was like, okay, maybe that's not so good. Take a look at yourself.
Yeah,
type of a
well,
thing.
guys, we will be sharing that link to that quiz, so you all should really.
Go on it and see, and then
I mean, it's a
At
good
least know where you
barometer to
stand.
see where you
Yeah,
stand. You know what I'm
totally.
saying? I mean,
Right.
it doesn't mean it's absolute, but it's just something that you can
They're
have
good.
fun with and pick up the ebook. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good general questions.
Yeah, and so let's just say, our listeners and viewers are everywhere. They're not just in LA. If they wanted to get in touch with you or they needed help, like, can somebody reach out to you?
Of course. Yeah, I'm really reachable. They just go to my website. There's a contact form. It's sherrygaba.com. The book, Marriage and Relationship Junkie, is now on Amazon.
Great.
So, yeah, I'm totally there for them.
Awesome. So now, can you explain to us what the deal is with oxytocin?
Yeah, and sex.
Yeah.
And like this, break it down, because this will help people understand why sex addiction is like, people are totally like, oh yeah, he's addicted to cocaine. Oh, but like nobody, like we're saying, when
Yeah.
you say you're a sex addict, they're like, what? That's not real.
I mean, simply speaking, without getting too like
Scientific.
biological and scientific, exactly, it basically lights up systems in your brain, and it's the same as any kind of addiction. It just lights it up, and you want more.
Okay.
And that's really what it is in a nutshell.
So that is how you start to fall in love. I am such a weird Googler. I want to know everything about everything. So if something occurs to me, I'm like, I'm going to put it in Google and see what comes up.
Yeah.
Like I once wrote, how do you know if you're falling in love? How do you fall in love? Why is it called falling? And where do you then end up in it?
Yeah.
Like,
So
what is falling?
I'm gonna pose this. Love is not just a feeling, it's actually a verb. It's like, how are you treating someone? How are they treating you? That's a whole, now that
Okay.
probably sounds kind of boring, doesn't sound as exciting, but it probably is more long lasting.
Right.
I mean, you're with a boyfriend
Yes.
right now. So how would you describe meeting him? Was it like, oh my God?
It was like kind of what you're saying. It was a very like
Slow and
slower,
steady.
steady, communicative process. I think that we were both in different places in our life. So I was more free from my last relationship than he was. So I think his pace was due to a little bit of hesitation from that, but still like knowing that the end goal was probably the same as mine, just a different pace. But I was also paying attention to things too.
Yeah, actually, watching her go through all of this, you were very aware of what was happening. Like, you would say things like, I know that this is a good guy.
Yes.
And then you'd say, I know that I'm going to fall in love with him when. And like,
Yes.
it was like you could see it because you knew he was the right kind of guy.
But I
and
wasn't-
then you were attracted to things
So
that
what I'm
he.
hearing is you made a conscious choice to pick differently, correct? You had enough of the other type.
Totally.
Yes.
And he
And
was
so-
different than what I thought I would fall in love with, for sure.
I understand.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, all of my husbands, different face, different name, same person.
Really?
Addicts, abusive, unavailable.
And that was
what
like
else?
exciting for you,
Liar.
maybe.
Well, I was just that's just what my go-to was. There was a lot of, growing up, there was just a lot of chaos. I talk a lot about, which I think your listeners might want to hear about. I had early trauma. I was in an incubator, 3 months. No mother, no touching, no bonding. We all know that attachment is so important. So I had issues. I had major issues, abandonment issues, separation. And so this was just my go-to. You're not really available. I'm going to be like a magnet to you.
Totally.
And that to me was what I called love. Love becomes what we're used to, what we know, what we're comfortable with. It becomes our that default system.
Makes sense.
And I think, you're really lucky. You're like over 20 years younger than me, and you finally got it. It took me a lot longer to get
It's
it.
hard. It was luck, I think, a little bit too. And
Well, I think today you have just more opportunities to learn about these things
Yes.
than I did. Even though, we had therapists back when, there was just a different kind of pressure. And, like I said, if you have these issues, this trauma, there's different kinds of trauma too. You can you can grow up with alcoholic parents. You can grow up with parents that are divorced when you're at an early age. They're not available physically, mentally. Maybe they're abusive. Maybe they neglected you. And so this is what you think is comfortable. And that's why you pick the quote bad boy type.
right.
Or isn't there such a thing like people will pick somebody based on like their criteria? So like they might not dig that deep into if they're an addict or something that actually will affect you long term in a relationship, but like, are they a doctor? Do they come from a good family? That's nice if they did. They could still be awful.
Yeah, true.
Of course they can.
You're,
Of
Like,
course.
do
you
they go
want-
to your temple? Who cares?
I mean,
they pay money to go to a
Well,
temple.
my I was like, you smell good, you look good, I'll marry you. Like, that's it.
And
that
all
was
those
it.
things are also important. I mean, being a doctor could be a good thing if you're also a nice person. Looking good and
Right.
smelling good is for sure something you're going to want, but it can't just be.
There has to be chemistry. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there has to be some
Oh, for
chemistry.
sure.
I mean, you just can't But it's just different if I think when it's healthy. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Shouldn't it also be like easier and like
More
you
of a
want the
flow.
same thing?
It's
and
just more nurturing, like you said, better communication, slow and steady,
And
getting to know somebody.
And not like a up and down, because that's like what people call a traumatic bond.
That is love
correct?
addiction,
And
up
that,
and down.
yes.
Yeah, and also sometimes what happens, there's this trauma bond.
Yeah.
Like with my last husband, I mean, I did everything to try to get him sober, over the top. Like I had more information in my brain that what I'm doing is crazy and obsessive, but there was this connection, this trauma bond. We both came from, early trauma, and we just kind of like, it was like, I'm going to save you, I'm going to fix you. It was awful and sick, but the point of this book is to take the sickness out of it and the shame out of it. In other words,
Right.
stop feeling ashamed for your decisions. You made these decisions. I was so ashamed that I was married 4 times, and I was so ashamed to talk about it.
Why?
Really,
Because you felt like that just
oh,
meant you,
loser!
yeah.
Like may as well
Right.
just hold a flag that says loser. I mean, really. And then I just realized, no, I'm not a loser. I made
it just
choices.
took you longer to get there.
I just made choices based on my history,
Yeah.
based on where I came from, what I knew, what
Right.
I thought was normal.
Right. And also, I mean, that's the great thing about therapy, but some people don't go to therapy. Some people don't know that they can overcome their situation. Just because your family was a certain way doesn't mean you actually do have to continue living in that way, or that that's what you know, or who
there's
you are.
resistance. Like
Yes.
if your desire to be married or have a boyfriend or a girlfriend is greater than what you know to be true, you're just not going to care, and you're just going to go for that
You're
person.
just going to go for
whoever,
whatever.
For whoever. I mean, you'll just take the scraps. That's my mom. I mean, she's with the scraps, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Right.
Because she can't be alone. Of course, her situation's a little different. She was grieving. They were married 60 years, and she was grieving and all that. But she just gave herself no time.
Sure.
She just had to, like, my dad's gone, and now I have to have another man to replace
Place
you.
it. Yep.
And that's it. And I don't care, like,
He's
all these...
breathing. He's basically breathing.
Yeah, he's a body. Like, there's a body here. Literally, that's what it comes to.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I remember I was in a relationship for 2.5 years where it was just a roller coaster. It was awful. But I felt like because I had grown up in an environment where I had to be strong, and I was a really strong kid, and I'm strong now, I was like, well, I'm strong enough for the both of us.
Right.
So, like how you said that you
Right.
could help get your husband through addiction, I was like, okay, well, this one's not ready for a relationship. That's fine. I will be strong and I will be patient. Then he was like basically an alcoholic. Sorry if you're watching. We're friends now. But also I was like, okay, I'm going to help him realize there's more to life than just drinking and hangovers. And
you talk yourself out of the things too, like, or is he, or maybe, like you try and
Yeah.
like, then also you get to the point too where I'm sure you did, or we've both been in situations like, I've been in this situation for so long, I'm not going to just walk away now.
I'm
You
like,
tell
well, there's
yourself
real
that.
love there.
Oh, that was
so-
definitely. I didn't want to get divorced again and
Right.
again
I've come
and
so
again
far,
and
so-
Right.
again. So of course I was
And, like-
also there was just, again, it goes back to the stigma and the shame. I just
Sure.
didn't want. I was embarrassed.
And so you, in this book, you talk about how to like get over that in order to move on, the stigma and the shame.
All kinds of like journaling exercises, meditations. My story, a chapter on codependency, about just everything. I mean, it's just got everything to, really live a happy, healthy life, whether you're with somebody or not.
Yeah.
Now, after somebody gets divorced, because there are people that watch the show that have gotten divorced and are dating again. We actually had divorce lawyers on.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I was listening to that one.
What do you recommend for somebody that has just gotten divorced? Let's say it wasn't a positive experience, because most divorces aren't.
Sometimes they're amicable, but sometimes they're not.
But like, do you think
You mean
that
in terms of dating, when they should start dating?
Yeah, when they should start? Should they go into therapy? Should they do some journaling and figure out what went wrong? Because it's not always so obvious.
What are some
My
signs to
book
know
is
you're ready?
perfect for that person. Right?
Okay,
well,
good.
guys,
Yeah.
Get the
it'll
book.
save them from the next, disaster.
Good. Yeah, some idiot-proof
absolutely.
signs that you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really a great time for self-reflection. Like, take the time, get into therapy, get into maybe a group. Maybe, if it was abusive, find some kind of group that deals with abuse. Maybe find a relationship coach, somebody that can help guide you and help you kind of figure out why it is you're picking certain types of individuals. I don't think you should jump into the next relationship, because I think if you are, it's you're inability to be alone, most likely. Now, of course, things happen. You can run into someone, you can meet someone. I'm not saying that it can't happen right away, but give yourself some time. Just kind of sit for a minute and breathe.
And
How
then-
much time are we
Yeah, how do
talking?
you know? I mean, obviously that's different for everybody. So, what are some things that, excuse me, that you know? Okay, I'm feeling these couple of things, so this must mean I'm ready. Like, just
I think you're loving your life like
Yeah.
I was. I was doing great, and then my father passed away, and I think that's why the relapse happened. And I ended up,
Oh, right, okay.
Kind of going backwards because I was in a lot of pain over that. But before that happened, I was really happy. Like I said, I was making new friends. I was canoeing. I didn't need anybody. I loved like binge Netflixing, sitting with my dog. I still love that. You love your alone time. You're okay with your space. It's okay being home on a Friday or Saturday night.
Yep.
You're just loving your life. You're happy no matter. And then somebody kind of adds, and then you attract someone better.
Yes.
Because you're loving yourself. You're going to find someone else that loves themselves.
Yes.
And isn't needing and
Right.
like has a sense of urgency to like just fill a void almost, right?
My first book was about the law of attraction and recovery. You attract what you are.
Yep.
Like attracts like. We get what you're going to attract exactly how you feel, what you're vibrating out, so to speak. And if you're just out of a divorce and you're in a lot of pain and you're grieving and maybe you're a single mom now, you got to kind of navigate through that. Give yourself time.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, Sherry, move your mic a little closer to your mouth so everyone can hear your
sure.
amazing advice because
Yeah.
we don't want to
okay.
lose you on this. But
Oh, now I
that
can hear you better.
there we
too.
go. Yeah. Just make sure.
Funny
it's-
how that works.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like that's how it happened for me. I spent a long time being single, and then I can attest to this personally. There came a time where I was like, I knew that I wanted to find a partner. I wasn't like, oh, fuck that. I'm like a single girl and I don't need anybody. Like, I wasn't in that.
That voice.
I was, and that's how it sounds.
That's what single girls sound like.
Yeah, that's the single bitchy me. I was single, and I was like, I want.
Translation: Men are, can I say assholes?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
you
can
can
say
Men are
whatever you want.
assholes. I can't find anybody, so I just want to be alone.
Yeah, no, and it was like I was definitely like, I want this, but I'm having a lot of fun being single right now, and within like less than a month,
That's
it happened.
exactly when you meet someone. You know that old
Yeah.
adage, when you're not looking, you find them. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the
And you
problem with
can't
the
fake
apps
it, yeah.
because you're looking, and it just like creates this frantic search.
Totally.
Oh my God,
know?
because you feel like if you're not swiping, then you're not putting in the work.
Yeah.
And then how are you ever going to meet that person?
And then you blame it on that, like I'm not putting in the effort.
Right.
It's my fault. I'm not putting myself out there.
It's so crazy.
Or if you're not
what it
going
is
on
now.
enough dates. I mean,
Yes.
like
Right.
I literally my whole life I could never tolerate more than maybe one date a week. That is not you're not gonna find someone generally that way. You have to kind of go on many dates and
Right.
meet many people. So I didn't go on a lot of dates, and I settled really fast because I didn't want to go on a lot
Yes,
of dates.
because you knew you didn't want to do. So you were staying with the person because of things that you did not want, not because of things you wanted in them.
more or less.
Yeah.
More or less.
I mean, at this point, for me, it's
And
like,
I didn't like being alone. Like
That-
I
Yeah.
could be alone now and be really happy. So if I'm going to spend time with someone, I better really like being
that's
with
what I
them.
was going to say. For me, it's the same thing. I got to a
Don't you
point.
love your dog?
Oh my God, I love her. I love my couch.
Yep.
I
Couch.
love.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I have all of the things you could possibly watch on TV. I have every podcast in the world. There are books. There are so many things,
So many things
I can
to
do.
that we can do without
Right.
anybody. So it really does take a special person that you're going to like devote your time to.
And that should be the
Absolutely.
way it should be. Then that person becomes special and you
It's
become special
additive.
to them.
adds to your life,
Right.
not makes your life.
Like for me, if you're gonna get me off my couch and
Uh-huh.
I like put on an outfit that's not a robe and go in my
Big
car
t-shirt,
somewhere,
flannels.
I'm like, you have to be someone I really, really do want to spend time with.
well,
Like,
then you might be ready to meet the right person.
and
Or maybe you have.
I have. I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know.
drive to the valley for this person, and
From
I don't
the city?
from West
Or-
Hollywood.
That is a real thing, people who are not from
Is
LA.
he driving just as much as you are?
I go to him. It's just way more convenient than him coming to me. There's
Okay.
no parking on my street. There's no space. We have
Okay.
two dogs. It's a
Okay.
whole.
I
It's just
got it.
easier.
Okay.
So,
But he would, though.
He totally
It's
would.
not that
Okay.
he-
I'm just
yeah.
checking.
I
Yes.
I
Good
actually
point, though.
volunteer. Yes,
Pay
absolutely.
attention to those kind of
Totally.
things, too. Don't ignore those things just because you want to have a boyfriend or
Right.
a girlfriend.
No,
Like,
it's
how does
gotta
he
be a
treat?
partner.
How does he treat a waiter? Like that's a telltale
Right.
sign. Of
Totally.
like, what kind of person is this? Are they thoughtful? Do they do nice things?
Exactly.
Is he
Yeah.
thoughtful?
My person, he is very thoughtful and does nice things, and I actually volunteer to go to him. But I always say something is only far if you don't want to go.
Yep.
Oh, totally.
And I don't even want to go down my own street. So
Yeah,
to go to the valley, I'm like,
You're like,
I
this
must really want to
That's a
go.
really good sign if you don't like someone, if you don't
Right.
want to drive there. Another telltale song, you go to a movie, this was like a biggie for me, and if they go to hold my hand and I'm like totally grossed out, that's definitely a no.
Oh
a
my
no.
God.
No,
Hard
no,
pass.
no.
I had that happen to me. Met a guy that was like, I think at the time I was like 31 and he was like 26. And I remember, and he was so cute. And I knew in my mind, like, I'm not going to fucking date you. You're like a child, but you're really cute. And like, he put the
That
effort
cute
in.
can go really far.
He wanted to be around me and with me and showed up. And I couldn't ignore those things, but I also didn't want to prejudge him for being younger. And he could have been one of those anomalies that was like a more mature guy for his age, but I just couldn't get past it. And he went to hold, and I would talk about it sometimes, like, well, you're so young, you know? And like, he went to hold my hand in a movie, and I sort of like,
You get the
maybe.
creepies.
And yes, and he said, what?
Like your skin crawls.
He's
Right.
like, what? Can a 26-year-old not hold your hand or something? I was like, oh God, I cannot do this. And I was like, gotta go. But he
So
was
you
real
can
cute.
relate.
Yeah.
So I get it totally. You have to pay attention to those things. Don't ignore those things just because you're like, but it's a body next to me, or I really want to get married by the time I'm 30.
Yeah, if you're saying things like yes, but it's like that's in therapy too. When you have clients that are saying yes, but there's something else going on.
Okay.
You're not looking. You're probably in some kind of denial.
So making excuses is
Right,
not a
making- yeah,
good.
being in denial. You know, addiction is the only disease that says you don't have a disease. So think about it. You know, if I'm an alcoholic, if I, admit I'm an alcoholic, guess what? I don't get to drink anymore. If I'm a love addict, if I admit that I'm a love addict, oh, I guess I have to take a break from dating. Like,
Right.
why would I want to do
True.
that? So it's.
But you can go back to
and
it
also
though.
making excuses.
Unlike an alcoholic or a drug addict, you're probably not going to go back to the drinking or the drugs. But if you're a love addict, you need to take a break, but then you have to approach it in a different way and coming from a different place.
You know,
But-
like if people go to Sex and Love Addict Anonymous meetings, they have these like circles, and they have different like things that you do within these circles. Like, oh, I don't date for 6 months, or I don't fantasize for 2 days, or I don't know, whatever whatever their issue, whatever it is their issue is, like coming up with like a plan. Because you have to date. Like if you're a sex addict and you're addicted to porn, most likely in your circles it's like no porn, like ever.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Ever.
Okay, so then
You can't go back into it at some point that you just cut that out of your life.
yeah, it would be like never
Cold
having
turkey.
a drink again. Your
Right.
porn is the wine.
Or another one may be like fantasizing, like all the time, like during the day, like obsessive fantasy at work, can't concentrate, always looking at, scoping women out or men out or whatever. That would be in their circle, like no fantasizing.
Got it.
I mean, you have to just come up with, what works for you and your situation, because every situation is different.
True.
Okay, what if you're dating somebody and they have like a porn addiction, but you don't know? How can you figure that out? Like, is there a sign that you're like dating somebody that has an addiction?
How would you know if they have a
Yeah.
porn addiction? If they're always, well, first of all, maybe they're sexual anorexic with you. They don't want to have sex with you because they're only addicted to porn.
Oh.
Or they just want to have sex with you with the porn.
Oh. Or make it like
or
a
they're
porn.
not having, like I said, not having as much sex, or I mean, it's hard to know. It's really hard to know if somebody's a porn addict. It's more about once you find out, then what?
Then
Right.
what?
I mean, it's really about, does it work for you? Are you okay? Both watching porn together, or is he only is he only turned on when he watches porn, or
Right.
You know,
And maybe he's not turned on and he has a limp thing because he watches too much porn.
A limp
Almost
thing.
like your mic is limping out on us again.
Good segue.
It's like that poor mic. It's feeling like it might have a porn addiction and it's having a problem.
I think people need to start by figuring out if they have an addiction, because
Yes.
you could just say, oh, I really like this thing. At what point do you say I really like it, or I actually have a problem?
it's when your life is becoming unmanageable. If this
Okay.
so-called person has a porn addiction, they're watching porn all the time. They're missing work. They're
Yep.
missing
Yeah.
dates. They're just unavailable.
Or being secretive about things
very
or something.
secretive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think eventually you're just going to.
It would expose itself somehow. It
I
would
actually do have a fear of love addicts. I'm always like on the hunt to see if somebody is really ready to be dating again, because they'll tell you their story.
or
like,
ready
oh,
to be dating at all. Or
Right.
just in
Like,
general.
I just got out of a relationship. I just got divorced.
Next.
Yeah. like I am
Next.
super on the hunt for these kinds of things because I'm like, nope, don't waste my time.
Hyper
if you're
aware,
not
yeah.
ready because of the one I told you about that I was like, okay, I'll be strong for both of us. Like you weren't ready, but I'll be patient. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
If you sound anything like this.
While paying attention to the signs of if you're
Don't
ready, because
fall in love with potential.
yeah,
You're pretty much going to get what you're going to get.
Right.
Much, so you want to
Okay.
kind of figure that out in the early days.
and you don't want to like displace your, not that you're doing this, but people in general, like you might have an insecurity about that within you. Like, am I actually ready? And am I like projecting that onto that person? Pay attention to you. You have to be ready too, obviously. But if you're paying attention to something like that, most likely then you're not in denial that that's your situation, I would think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just am wondering for the audience.
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, I too, because
I think I figured it out.
I am perfect and have no issues.
Exactly.
And
she's
scene.
super humble.
Yes. No, I'm kidding. That is a total
So,
joke.
in your new situation,
Yeah.
you don't feel like you have to fix or change or any of that.
No, I mean he got divorced at some point, and so my whole thing with him was like, well, how do you know you're ready to move on?
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yes.
do
Well,
you
which
know
is
what
a
went
valid
wrong?
question. Yeah.
Have you talked to anybody about it? Have you really dissected it? I'm like on the hunt.
Was it a recent divorce?
I mean, over a year ago.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, are you still sure you should be dating?
Right.
Maybe you should be dating more than one person. I said that to him. I was like, I don't know if you should only be seeing me. Maybe you need to be dating more people.
So
He's like,
I would.
what?
So I probably wouldn't do that. 'Cause
Sherry's like, no.
He's like, you're pushing him out the door, you know.
yeah, exactly. You're sabotaging somebody that may be really great.
Right, and he is.
Yeah, but that fear comes in too, where you're like,
Of
I've done
course.
that too,
Of
where, in
course.
my
Yeah.
own ways, where you're like, but do you, but how much do you,
Right.
but what is, you
Yeah.
know, because you're like afraid that they might not. I'm also always the type
Wait
of
till
person.
you're my age.
I want-
mean, layer after layer,
Yes.
year after year. I mean, you guys are still young. But
Very
Thank you.
young.
Thank
and
you.
that's probably
Babies.
why I was married 3 times by the time I was your age. But after that, you know, you just have all of these layers of trauma and everything.
Yes,
that
it
you've been
affects
through.
you.
Yes, it does. And that's, again, I'm going to go back to don't feel ashamed of these things.
Yes.
Like, you've been through a lot, girlfriend. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
Or guys.
Or guys.
Who may have
guys
been
that are
Both.
divorced.
watching.
Great
stuff.
advice. And before we go, we are going to play a really quick game with you because we're talking about love addiction, but there's also like on this underbelly of that, there's like, ooh, what if you're like addicted to a certain type, right?
Yeah, like you
ooh,
said, you were addicted to
I
like
was.
bad
I was,
boys,
I
basically.
definitely had a look. It was a type.
Yes. Break that cycle. So we are going to talk about celebrities, which you have worked with before, and they that are famously addicted to a certain type. And we are going to ask you to give a quick quip of advice for someone who might be attracted to this type, how they could like broaden their horizons and step out of their comfort zone in our game called Type Hype. So, for example, Taylor Swift.
You're doing a test to me.
Yes, so
You're going to give advice to this
Oh,
kind of
okay,
person.
got it.
Okay, so Taylor Swift, she goes for these British guys. So what if all the time, right? Like that's her type. So what if someone's like attracted to a type of person who's like from a faraway place, like away from where
Only.
you are, and
So
away
she
from,
looks for unavailable people.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
and they always end up breaking her heart because
Yeah.
they're love avoidance, most likely.
So
Most
she-
likely. And they're
Yeah.
famous.
so she should try
Yeah.
and date closer to home.
For sure. I
Yes.
mean, that's an obvious one,
Yeah.
really. I mean, yeah.
Okay, let's take Khloe Kardashian, for instance. She's dated some basketball players. She was married to Lamar Odom, and
Yeah.
now she has a baby with Tristan Thompson, who is clearly.
These guys
He
are
came
like
out and said, what? He's a sex addict? He
they're
said,
potential players that are also away often. So how does somebody like break the mold from that?
Yeah, she's making the same choice over and over again.
Yeah.
Again, different face, different name, different body, but the same type of person. I mean, I think that she has to make, like you did, you have to make a conscious choice. Like, what are the
Date
things,
somebody different.
Right, like what am I really looking for? What is it that I really need? The other thing I want to say that I didn't say earlier is when you pick unavailable people, it's also because you're probably unavailable to yourself.
Yes.
You have your own intimacy issues. Like, if you're always blaming the other person, oh, he's just not available, there's a really good chance you're not available. So there's something about her that is unavailable to herself.
Yes, reflect that back onto you. Okay.
Exactly.
We're going to do one more. Adam Levine, he always dates a Victoria's Secret angels. These are like, so if you're the type
So
of
that's
person
probably someone that watches a lot of porn.
that or
I mean, really.
someone who goes for like an uber beautiful person who's like always better looking than you. Like, what does that say about you?
Well, it's that, what do you call it? Their trophy.
Yes.
Right.
Trophy
It's
wife.
like
trophy
vanity
girl.
also
Yeah.
to be like, oh, I got that person.
Well, it's basically that person is a reflection of how I feel about myself. If you look good on the outside, then I look good.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that he doesn't feel so good on the inside, and she's going to be his, trophy.
Oh,
His
boy.
validation. Well, if
Yeah, it does
that
come back to validation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if that
always.
sounds like you, then take that advice and read this book because that could help you too. And
Yes, and
Sherry,
it's available on Amazon.
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And
And
how
go to
else-
sherrygaba.com.
Yes.
I'd love to, if they can write me, check out all my blogs and my quizzes and ebooks and everything else.
and on Instagram they can follow you.
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. All Sherry Gaba.
Great.
And if they're in LA, they can go to Malibu and get some addiction help from you.
No, I'm actually in Westlake Village.
Oh, in
But
Westlake-
her private
yes.
practice.
Yes,
there,
which
too.
is a very
But I
nice
do
part
life
of town.
coaching everywhere, so people
Great.
can contact me for that.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
that was
you for
so
having
fun
me.
and
You
so
guys are
wonderful.
you're more adorable than when I got here.
Thanks. We
Thank
love
you.
it.
Well, guys, us adorable girls, we're not going to be here next week or the week after because
We are on a break.
a summer break.
Yes,
But
that's
we're
right.
not breaking up, and
It's
we
not
will be
permanent.
back.
We are going to be back in the studio July 11th, and we've got our guest, a singer-songwriter, Jared Lee, in for more dating and relationship fun. And don't forget to follow us on all the socials at Complicated Show. And again, on July 11th for our live show, we'll be coming back refreshed and new and
Oh, yeah.
ready to talk about love.
Can't wait, and maybe we'll even have some love updates
Ooh,
ourselves.
we might.
Who knows, guys? So tune in. Where can everyone follow you, Lauren?
At Lauren Leonelli on all the social medias.
And you can see all of her travels.
Yes.
And you guys can follow me at Jennifer Golden on all the social media platforms as well. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yes,
3 weeks.
summer.
3
Happy
weeks.
summer.
Love you long time.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.